everything, marketing in-house to property management to project management, everything. So him, Ingrid and we have started a partnership in this area. So he's finding properties. I'm doing all the financial management, and Ingrid is raising money. So we are here to walk our first 3 or 4 properties we just purchased. So our goal is to build. Actually, your podcast could not have come at the perfect time. Better. So we switched gears. So when I looked at our plan, the initial plan was to build a rental portfolio in Ohio. But then Ohio has a huge demand for lease to own or wrap buyers. So I'm like, why are we going to pay for taxes and insurance and maintenance and vacancies and toilets and trash? I was like, no more. Let's switch gears and let's move to wrap. So now we are looking at wrapping all these properties and create a cash flow machine. Basically, our goal is to buy like 300-400 properties very soon. Let's see how it goes.
Nice, amazing. That's great.
So looking forward to our conversation today, man. I know you've done some cool things. By the way, Jada and I have not spoken whatsoever about you. So anything I ask is going to be 100% spontaneous. And I mean, of course, I do a lot of raps in Texas, but I want to see what you're doing differently. So
yeah, amazing.
let's maybe give it a couple more minutes, Jada.
Sure. Yeah, we have some people coming in still. A lot of new people. So Philip, you are the guest that has had the most support in the background. I would say I would post about you. I'm like, oh my God, guess who we have coming on Instagram, on Facebook. I think I had at least one person from every platform that's like, I'll be there. And they've never been to one of these Zooms. So thank you.
Nice, amazing.
And I get we'll give it, I say, like 2-3 more minutes.
What market are you in, Phil?
Yeah, we're in Kansas City. So I primarily buy in Kansas City, but we also we work with people doing raps. We have students and they're all around the country. But my whole portfolio is based in Kansas City.
Okay, but you have a community and with students across the nation, you said?
Yes. We're doing raps and lease options. Yeah, because they kind of see what you're seeing also, like, there's different exit strategies you have in single family real estate, and the wrap lease option exit strategy in the right markets is just, it's true cash flow. I'm in Colombia, South America right now, and I'm able to like not have to deal with people calling me about toilets and tenants and all that kind of stuff. We have things set up in a way that
exactly.
Awesome. Yeah.
Headaches.
Okay, I am about to be stationary, so I can turn on my computer and my camera.
Cool.
Yeah, Philip, you were saying that did you have a presentation for us, or did you want to?
Yeah, so I have a I can take this however you guys want, but I do have a presentation that I can just share with you guys to kind of break down like what the exit is that we do, why we love it. And then I can open it up and just take whatever questions kind of come in. We can weave in and out of the presentation if that works for you guys.
I'd say that's perfect. Absolutely. I want more people to understand what it is you exactly do, because I think that it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah. My goal with the presentation is to enroll people in the idea of like why we love raps. And that's like step number 1. And then, beginner, intermediate, advanced questions just like pop in as we go. And I can kind of weave in and out and kind of just share with you guys, what we've learned. Because we've done about 200 transactions, over 60 raps, and we've learned a lot from those experiences. Just because as you do, when you do anything in life and in business, there are mistakes that are made, and through that you gain wisdom. And so we've gained some wisdom through the experience of doing these deals. And I just want to share some of that with you guys, as well as, why we really love this model.
Oh, fantastic.
Cool. Okay. I can share, and feel free to pop in whenever. I probably won't be able to see the chat, but Jada, just pop in if there's any questions here.
Yeah, I got you.
Give me a sec.
Awesome. Yeah, take it away, man.
Okay, amazing. Okay, cool. So let me let me move things really quick. Whoops. Okay. Okay. Amazing. Cool. So yeah, so this is just kind of a breakdown of RABs and lease options and why we really enjoyed this. And some of the things I can cover is from hustle to purpose and why we chose this strategy. When we first started, we were wholesaling. We went through some mentorship programs. We scaled up a wholesaling operation. We ended up doing about 6 properties per month wholesaling. But just it's very similar to flipping. There's just a lot of money that's moved around and not a lot of long-term wealth is being created because we weren't holding on to any properties. And that's kind of where we came from is like, we're doing all this work and working so hard. And then like 1 month goes by and we're not getting deals and like all of our reserves just like flow out of our account. So I'm going to talk about why I think this is the blue ocean of single family real estate. How to identify good wrap markets or how to know, like, is my market a good wrap market? How to structure and underwrite wrap deals. So how to actually structure and underwrite these deals, like some rules of thumb to know about wraps, like to see if a property would be good for a wrap. How to find a legit wrap buyer. And then the biggest lesson we've learned from doing over 60 creative finance deals. So just like really quickly, a bit of my backstory. I told you about wholesaling, but like at the beginning, like I was a backpacker. I lived in Australia for a year. I lived in Bali, Indonesia. After college, I started soul searching and figuring out like what I want to do with my life. And entrepreneurship never really crossed my mind. But I started like traveling and like checking things off the list of what I did not want to do with my life. And then out of necessity, I learned how to make money online, which started me on the path of business and being an entrepreneur. I went through, had a Squarespace development company. I did drop shipping. I did e-commerce. And eventually I got burnt out of drop shipping because like at the end of the day, I was, selling products I didn't really care about. And it wasn't, I was sacrificing my purpose in life because I felt like I want to make a difference in the world and have a positive impact on the world while making money. But I had this whole mindset of let me borrow first and like make the money and I'll figure out the money thing in a year, make $1 million, and then I can focus on my purpose. And that 1 year turned into 4 years and I wasn't any closer. And I was like just selling products from China using Facebook ads. And it was not my life purpose. And it created a lot of stress and tension in my life. I moved to Kansas City to start a real estate company with my friends. We scaled that wholesaling operation. And then I realized I was just drop shipping houses. I was like, how did I get here again? I'm just middlemaning houses and selling houses to hedge funds. Like this isn't like the end all be all. And it was around that time we found Pace Morby, we found Sub2, we started doing creative finance deals, and we found a local mentor who's been doing a form of wraps in Kansas City for 20 plus years. And he taught us how to do our first deals. And so most of the families that we sell to are first generation Americans. They're mostly Latin American. When we sold to them, they were literally achieving the American dream by gaining access to home ownership. And not just that, like we turned $10,000 wholesales into $100,000 gross profit deals over a time horizon. So like we felt good at the closing table because the families were like, it was literally a life-changing moment for them. And we also 10x'd what our lifetime value of our product was. And we fell in love with it. So a few months ago, I want to share this with everyone. This is just like a freebie. A few months ago, I went to an event in Austin that was around being a fulfilled millionaire. And they had this exercise that we went through that allowed for us to craft out like the foundation of like why it is we're doing what we're doing using ChatGPT. And I did this, and this is one of the things that really aligns me with Pace about talking about, what is your Everest? What is the why behind everything that you're doing? Because I found that a lot of real estate was empty of that why. And so this exercise right here allowed for me to really craft like, what does my dream life look like? What does my dream life look like day in and day out? Like, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis? Where am I located? How much money do I need to make? And this breaks down everything like dream vision plus like financially, like how much you actually need to earn on a monthly basis and how much you actually need to have in your bank account to create those residuals. So I want to share this with you guys. It's basically working backwards from your dream life. Because like everything, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. Like I don't need a bajillion dollars. Like I want to set up my life so that I can live the life that like sets my soul on fire, and that's like the life of my dreams. And like why I love this model and why I love real estate is that if you work backwards, you know, and once you get $10,000 a month coming in like of residual income, you're then freed up to like step into whatever your life purpose is. You know, you're freed up to like take a step back, take a breath, not be stressed about money, and really just ask the questions like, you know, what sets my soul on fire? What do I really want to do here? And you're able to, you know, maybe that is scaling further. Maybe it's like going to bigger asset classes, or maybe it's like starting a mission project or starting a nonprofit, whatever that thing is. But like my whole thing is like, let's get everyone to tier one financial freedom. And then from there, people have a choice point about what the next thing is to do. And this exercise really helped me. I can put my school link in there as
I
well.
love this. Sorry to break your spell. I
Mhm.
just love this terminology called tier one financial freedom. Nobody's said that before. It is so important to know what tier one. So financial freedom, again, from some online research and stuff like that. I mean, people just say this commonly that $1 million is not enough these days. And $1 million is not going to get you financially free, but it's going to get you on a path to find the real financial freedom. Right now, you are so trapped. You feel like you are literally in a jail. I mean, at least that's how I felt when I was in my 9 to 5. I was like, how do I get out of this? Like, I mean, if I get out of this, I'm letting go of almost a couple $100,000. I mean, I was fortunate to have a really good job. Uh, and I mean, that literally pushes me back a few years. So I had to work twice as hard to build something. So, I mean, I had not found this. So this is so important, what Phil is showing. This is actually the most optimum way to get to tier one. That's what I want everyone to know. That's why we brought him here. I'm actually, we actually brought Phil on because I have started so I already have a same business in Texas, but I started the similar business in Midwest. And I feel like I can learn a lot from Phil because of this exact background that he has. But go ahead, go on, Phil. Sorry to, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I put some perspective in there.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. And yeah, the tier one is like that amount that's going to allow for you just to take a step back and breathe. But yeah, so feel free to pop in here. Like in the classroom, there's a few videos and worksheets to like get you to do that ChatGPT exercise. And that's for me, that's like it's truly the starting point. Because you know, without a ship at sail and sea without a destination is just floating around, right? And we don't want to be just floating around within our lives. Like we want to know, like, this is the direction I'm going. Like, this is like what my dream life looks like, and it's possible. And I'm taking steps like towards being there. Okay. So the business in a nutshell. So what we do is we buy properties at 70 to 80% of the property value. We put long-term financing in place. So here is where you have like the question number one of this model is how am I putting long-term financing in place? And there's different answers to that question based off of what your skill sets are and what the skill sets are that you desire to develop. So we have several different ways to do this. One of them is you buy property creatively, right? So that's probably the easiest way to get long-term financing in place is you find creative financing deals. They already have the financing in place. The first 15 plus houses we did with this model were all creative, right? We bought them seller financing, we bought them hybrid, subject to seller financing, and then we didn't do any rehab at that point. We would just buy properties as is, seller finance them as is. A lot of the families are handy. A lot of them, most of the families are Latino. Like they have businesses around construction. They want to build in their own equity. And we allow for them to do that because we didn't want to do the rehab process. As we started continuing forwards, we wanted to scale the model and we couldn't find enough properties that were subject to in Kansas City. So then we started doing more of a BRRRR model where we bought, we renovated, we refinanced, and then we sold on seller finance on the back end. So those are two of the main ways to do it. We call that the jacket strategy because you're getting a BRRRR and then you're wrapping the BRRRR like a jacket. So that's the jacket strategy.
I just have a random thought here. Phil.
Mhm.
Instead of BRRRR model, we need to call it a bro model. But BRRRR refinance and owner finance at the end instead of rent.
I like it. The bro model. Yeah,
So
the
I always think about that. I just found an opportunity to say it now. I hope that makes
nice.
sense.
Okay. Nice. The jacket
Okay.
or the bro. I like both of these.
And I feel like Burr sucks. I'm going to go to an extent and say even sub two to owner finance kind of sucks because you are managing someone else's. But the pro model is real deal because it's your own. And I'm gonna add to your thing later what I mean by that. But let's park that for now. Go, keep on.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, when like getting started at the very beginning, like doing the seller finance to wrap, or to contract for deed, that for me was like that made it easier. So like, if you're doing your first deals, like I wouldn't be afraid of, yeah, subject twos have a little bit more like to manage and to think about like in regards to the financing. But at the same time, it takes away the whole rehab component. And that's why I really like to, like for people that have in our community, it's like the first step is like really deciding what skill sets you want to develop, because some people like are like, yeah, I want to learn how to flip. I want to learn how to renovate. Then like the bro model, the jacket strategy is amazing strategy. Other people are like, that's like the last thing in the world I want to do. Then you need, there's other ways to do it, but it should really be based off of what skill sets you care to develop. So I think that's the biggest thing is life is a long game, business is a long game. You're just stacking skills. And so whatever skill you want to develop, whether it's raising private capital, acquiring property subject to, or renovating, like all those are really valuable skills. And then we seller finance. Once we have the long-term financing in place, we seller finance families at full market value or up to 15% above market value. So these families are willing to pay a premium in exchange for having the in-house financing in place. So this is another thing. So you don't get the appreciation when you're doing a wrap or a seller finance deal, but you do force that you create appreciation when you sell because they're paying, you can structure it as 100% of market value plus fees, but they're paying above market value for the properties. Right. And so you're actually forcing appreciation and then you get to collect that cash flow afterwards. So depending on the type of deal, typically our jacket strategy deals, when we do the Burr model, we're usually cash flowing about 400 to 600 per deal. Subject twos cash flow more if you have that interest rate arbitrage. So anywhere from 400 to 1,200 bucks a month of passive cash flow. You enjoy the interest rate arbitrages and also built-in equity. So this is real cash flow. There's no capital expenditure. You're not fixing properties. Like the families have ownership mindset and they're taking care of anything that may come up. So this is true and real cash flow that you get to collect that comes into the bank account every single month. And it's as passive as it gets in single family real estate. Okay. So growing market opportunity. Most of the families that buy from us are first generation Americans, mostly Latino. Regardless of what's going on with the current administration, with ICE, all of that, this is still the fastest growing demographic in the United States. 19% of the US population are Latino, and it's expected to be 30% by 2050. They have $3.6 trillion in spending power in the USA as of 2024, and it's an underserved demographic. Most of these families, it's not that they have bad credit, they typically have no credit. And so the banks have their go-to products, and the banks are just not serving this demographic. And they want to own houses and they want to buy houses. So they're not served by the current banks. Another thing we love about this model, and once again, like I'm enrolling you guys in the vision of this model because I love this model. So ecosystem of wins, we're creating homeowners. We're doing good while doing well. We're having a positive impact while we're also like passively creating cash flow for ourselves and for our families. These are some of the families that we sell our finance to. That's Dow. These guys are really cool. They have a few goats at the house. These guys brought like $30,000 in cash to the closing table. If you see the bearded guy on the right-hand side, that's a friend of ours. And we actually seller financed him into a house because he has a small business and he was not able to get a loan, and we seller financed him. And we also prefaced it with like, if you're late, like we're going through an eviction process because we love you, but like it's a business. So the families are really happy. There's a lot of really amazing, like each of those families have an incredible story. For the sake of time, I won't get into this right now, but every family has a really amazing story. So my thing is like 10 houses to tier one financial freedom just to get like that breathing room. And so these are some of the deals that we've done. As you can see, we always look at projected 7-year profit because on average, the families will sell or refinance after 5 to 7 years. And so that number is important to us. And so this one cash flowed 538. This one cash flowed 605. This one cash flow is 702, 723, 506. So those are pretty standard deals. Okay. So now we can get into a little more like the meat and potatoes of like, where do I find a good wrap market? Hopefully you're enrolling the idea that this is a great exit strategy, single family real estate. It's a blue ocean. There's not a whole lot of competition and these buyers are underserved. So here are some key rules of thumb for identifying a good wrap market. Because there was a period in Sub-2 where people got into a bunch of bad wrap deals and like it's very unnecessary if you follow some rules of thumb. Like don't buy $1 million houses in rural areas with populations of like 3,000 people, right? Like that makes it extremely challenging. So here's are some rules of thumb that we came up with. So one is within 30 miles of a major city metro. I like to be within major city metros. If you're in markets like Texas or Florida where there's high Latino demographics, you can get a little bit flexible with these, but just like a rule of thumb is you want to be in populated areas. So within 30 miles of a major city metro is really good. Population size minimum of 100,000. I like to have Latino populations above 10% in the area. Affordable housing. So affordable housing for the win. Like if your sale price is between 1,500 and 2,000, they're really easy to sell. 2,000 to 2,400, they're pretty easy to sell. 2,500 and above, it's more challenging. And obviously that's market dependent. But in the Midwest, these are like key rules of thumb that we want just to make things easy.
So you are saying under 2,500 in Midwest per month payment is good?
Yeah. Once you get
Including
above 20,
taxes and insurance, or you're talking about
Yes.
including just the principal and interest?
including taxes and insurance. So like, if you're doing this in Ohio, you're going to find a lot of properties that fit into this area. Just any houses between
Yes.
60,000 and 300,000. Once you get above 300,000, the PITIs go a bit higher. And then, you just have to do everything's an analysis, right? It's all market analyses. And these are rules of thumb that we go by. So like when people first start doing wraps, I think you should just follow these rules and find properties that are going to be easier to sell.
So-
So you don't want to get headaches on your hand.
I just want to add to this part.
Mhm.
So, of course, you touched on what owner finance is, but so what you're calling affordable housing is what I call. So I started teaching in Sub-2 exactly like wraps when I first when PACE first started the community, and at that time things were really good because our interest rates were good. And of course, with
Mhm.
creative finance, those are still possible. However, in Texas markets, we have to stay under certain amount because our taxes and insurance is really, really high. Okay.
Right.
In Midwest, overall uh, uh, income is lower compared to some major states like Texas or anywhere else for that matter, like California. So I just want you all to keep in mind that taxes and insurance can add up quite a bit. So the affordability zone, so that's what I call, what you call affordable housing, I call affordability zone. That zone is within like between 100 and 300 in Texas. 300 on the really high side, like 225 would be the most ideal property to sell, which is hard to find in Texas compared to what Phil is talking about in Midwest or Kansas City for that matter. Is Kansas City considered Midwest?
Yeah. Yes. Right in the middle.
Right. Yeah. So Kansas City or in general Midwest, overall housing is fairly affordable compared to the rest of the country. That's why that's probably my most favorite market in the entire nation, honestly. Entire Midwest. So many possibilities there. So just keep that in mind, though, that why wraps are so much harder in other states where you are probably compared to Midwest. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
we have
go on.
we
That's
have
what
a
I
lot of
wanted.
students that we have a lot of students that do it virtually also because I agree the
Yeah.
Midwest is amazing. And we have people doing it in Louisiana and Indianapolis and Alabama, and parts of Texas, Kansas City, Arkansas, like because the Midwest just like it makes everything a lot easier for getting long-term financing in place and just for general affordability. And there's also like high Latino demographic populations there as well. And just also to share, like when we first started, we were buying properties all across the board. We were buying whatever sub two like seller financing deal we could get. We would just lock it up and wrap it. And so
Yeah.
we've sold houses as high as 550,000 in Kansas City, which is pretty high. And we just found that they're a little bit harder to sell because there's a smaller buyer pool.
And the
And
reason being, I mean, you are able to sell even 550 house in Kansas City, and it's harder for me in Texas, is because our taxes are 3 to 4 times higher compared to you guys,
right.
and
Yeah.
insurance is 2 to 3 times higher.
Right, exactly. So you have to look at it holistically.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
for us in the Midwest, yeah, we want the sales PITI ideally to be under 2,500. But then everything is there's flexibility. But if you're doing your first deals, like just make it easy for yourself. Have properties are easy to sell. Then as you get comfortable, you can start expanding out a bit more. Okay. PITI. So typically we're also looking at the market rents. So if the market rents in the area are, $1,500, we're fine being 15 to 30% over those market rents on our sale price, on our sale PITI. So we also pay attention to the market rents as well, because when properties, if the market rents are 1,200 and we're trying to sell it for 2,200, that's when properties sit for a lot longer and it's a lot more challenging to find the buyers. Okay. So our typical buy box is 3 bedrooms plus. In the Midwest, we want them to have basements. This is probably a big thing for maybe not in Ohio, but in Kansas, like a lot of the Latino demographics are afraid of tornadoes, which is something that we never would have thought about. So basements are really big. Like slab foundations in the Midwest don't sell. In Texas, everything's a slab, so that's not the case. But yeah, and it's also for storage as well. But it's really challenging to sell slab foundations in the Midwest markets.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting one we learned over time. Then large living spaces. So unfinished basements are amazing. Large backyards are amazing. Off-street parking is super important. A lot of these families are entrepreneurs. They have some sort of construction businesses a lot of the times. And so like having a place to park their big trucks is really important. And then large yards as well. So just like a lot of these families are growing families, and any space that they can finish, they get super excited about. So if there's
just one point to add here is what you mentioned about large yard. I just want to emphasize that heavily, is because in Texas especially, I mean, if you are going to consider doing wraparound mortgages in other parts of the country besides Midwest, then, and if they are as expensive as Texas in that mid-range, or Georgia is pretty similar, that 300,000 and up, those houses will sell on a wraparound mortgage quickly. Only, I mean, not only, but especially if there are bigger lot sizes. If they are sitting on a half acre, 1 acre land, then, and Latino community loves land. And
Yes.
everybody, and I love land too, of course. I mean, everybody does. But especially Latino community, where they come from, they are looking for a bigger piece of land. And if your property is sitting on, I mean, they will. So when Phil is talking about affordable housing, or what I call affordability zone, when we are talking about wraparound mortgage buyers, the majority, I would say 90%. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but 90% of the buyers will be in that range. What that means is, if you have a property, and I have sold properties on a owner finance that are 700,000 in the market with over 20% in down payment. So those buyers do exist, but of course they are unicorns, right? So they are, I mean, 10% is probably still optimistic. I would say the less than 5% of the buyers can afford that much. But your property characteristic has to match. I mean, of course, the area and where your property is in general, and the comps in the area is what's going to dictate the price of the house. But what's going to make it attractive for an owner finance buyer from the Latino community is definitely, I mean, in that regard, if you start thinking, land is going to be at like their top 5 attributes when they look for a property. Am I right in saying that?
That's correct. Yeah, and then Living space as well, like duplexes sell super fast. If you have any sort of duplex or additional dwelling units, like things like that sell extremely fast on seller financing, because they're going to move a family member in there, their parents or a cousin, or something of the sorts. So large yards for sure, and then additional living spaces, or finishable basements. I would say those are three of the top things. And as for everything, like everything's this is an equation. All this information is like meant to give you guys just more data points to think about when you're doing the deals. It doesn't need to check every single one of these boxes. But this is what we found makes it really easy to sell these deals.
Awesome.
Okay. So a few lessons of the trades. So how to sell the deals. This is like one of the biggest questions people have is like, how do I find buyers? So the easiest one is to find an agent that specializes in seller finance buyers. So we have a few of these in Kansas City. This is the easy button. So like find an agent that literally has a business around finding these buyers and find a good one because not all of them are good. That's the easy button. And then typically you pay these agents $3,000 to $5,000 or 15% of the down payment. That's usually the price point that we want to be in for what we actually pay the agents.
Oh, wow. 50% of the down payment?
15. 15.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah. It'll usually be within that 3 to 5K range.
Okay. So
Another one, Facebook.
In Texas, we have paid up to 6%, which is over 50% of the down payment because we get over 10%, I mean, about 10% on an average. But on an average, we pay around 4%, pretty close to 50% of the down payment still. I mean, I'm glad to hear the Midwest pricing is much favorable.
Yeah. And we're also working on like building something out to help people find wrap buyers. That's like another product
Nice.
that we're starting to think about and build
Push
out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the other one is Facebook Marketplace. Like Facebook's a great place to find potential buyers. The Facebook Marketplace, Latino groups, making the post, being consistent about it. Like for us, the big thing with finding buyers is like, and the big thing for our entire business is like, I don't want to be a realtor. So I want to structure things so I'm not like running around showing people houses because now I'm in a job that I don't enjoy. So that's why I first started like finding who, not how, like going the who, not how method. And then if for some reason that doesn't work, then Facebook Marketplace is really good. Facebook ads is really good. It's like marketplace on steroids. Signs in the system. You can put bandit signs in the front yard and in the general area and drive traffic somewhere. Craigslist, Zillow, MLS listings. This is all ranked in like the area in the range that I would do it. Like find an agent, find the easy button if you can. Like there's no reason to make life challenging. And then if you need to do it manually, like Facebook Marketplace, Facebook ads is like the easiest because you're just dealing in text and a lot of these families speak Spanish. So it's just basically getting people to look at houses. You can send them to the property, have a small system so they can go let themselves in, and then to send enough people to the houses, someone's going to buy them.
Nice. So one thing about Facebook Marketplace, I just want to mention, and in general, about the whole process of finding buyers. And I know you're speaking from the Midwest perspective, which I love and want to. I mean, I was so hungry to listen to your like a perspective on Midwest. But what I want to share about what I've experienced in Texas is our challenge with finding buyers on our own has been tremendous. Like we've never been able to find a buyer on our own. First of all, I mean, I'm an immigrant in this country. Okay, I still have an accent. Okay, me talking to a Latino buyer in my English with an accent is like the farthest from what they're looking for, okay, to speak to on the phone. So, I mean, even if and I've seen this with even Latino investors looking for Latino buyers, when you don't know what to say on the phone, when you're talking to an end buyer, it is very hard to convince these buyers to buy, or make one of the biggest purchases in their life. Okay. So, think about the situation these people might be in. Some are undocumented. Some have challenges with visa and immigration. Some have challenges with cash, jobs. There are tremendous, just beyond our imagination, like what they are going through. So when you are talking to them and convincing them to buy a piece of property, always best to use an agent, like Phil said, or a broker in your area who specializes, who's been doing it for years. It's definitely, easy button, like Phil said. So with Facebook Marketplace, the same, these agents are always marketing all these properties that they have on Facebook Marketplace as well. But the Facebook Marketplace is going to give you, so this is my experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, that we have seen a ton of people request information, but nobody ever picks up a phone call, even if there is a Latino person making those calls. Have you had this have you had the similar experience with
Yeah,
Facebook
for sure.
Marketplace?
I mean, we mostly just manage everything through texting on Marketplace, like to get them to the properties. But like most of the properties we sell is through an agent. Like that for us,
Yeah.
it works. It's easier.
Yeah.
We only do manual marketing like when we have to.
If
If
you
we
want to
really,
try this strategy, some of these key like topics Phil and I are discussing, do not ignore that. Watch this episode again, request for a link in our group, because wraps definitely work. I've done, I've done 40 plus wraps, and I'm currently holding that many in my portfolio. And I cannot tell you better things about a strategy than wraps. So it definitely works, but it has its own quirks, and you have to like make sure you keep them. And one of those things is working with a broker. Working with a broker is almost 100% needed, especially in your initial phase. Again, my business partner is on the call, Eric Richards, who is actually doing it successfully, doing on his own. So we'll get his perspective at the end, but I don't want to interrupt more than I already did. Phil, keep going.
yeah, I mean these are great points. And yeah, and I do have mentors who've done everything through Marketplace virtually as well.
Yeah.
But it's more manual, and like it's having an agent is extremely helpful. But yeah, for an exit strategy in single family real estate, and also from like going from flipping to holding or wholesaling to holding, like this is it's the easiest jump.
Yeah.
Okay. So pricing a deal. So when a deal doesn't move, like the down payment's always the lever. So if a deal is sitting and it's not moving, you lower the down payment, you can adjust the down payment to then help the deal to move. That's like the easiest thing to assist it in moving. In Texas, it's a little bit different because you're doing true wraps. You're giving the deed over to the family. So you want to be careful. You want to know like what is your exit if the family like stops performing.
Right. That makes it harder too.
Yeah. We're like in the Midwest, we're actually doing long-term lease options. We do 30-year lease options with rent credit schedules. That way it's just an eviction if we need to get them out. And we've had 2 families who have given properties back of our entire portfolio of 60 plus, and both of them gave us the keys back. None of them made us go through an eviction process. They're like, hey, like I lost my job, I can't do this anymore. Here are the keys. And that's another amazing thing about working with the demographic that we work with. So once again, 15% of our market value, like a little bit of cushion on there in exchange for having the in-house financing in place, 50 to 30% of our market rents. Then the next step is like, so now you have the property, you found the buyer, you brought them through closing, how to manage the notes. We use a loan servicing company. We have everything go through our loan servicing company. So I don't want to have like a bunch of people texting me about issues if there ever is an issue. So I just structure things in a way that they know to go to the servicing company, who would then send us an email if there's any sort of issue. And what that does, that's just a lifestyle design hack, right? I don't want my phone blowing up, because if you get in cahoots with the families, they're going to message you and say, hey, I'm going to be late on this day, or hey, they might even say like, hey, like this thing stopped working. When they signed up, like they have ownership mindset, just like when you buy from the banks. So we put everything through our servicing company. They collect the payments, they deal with communication, and that way it just kind of protects us from feeling like we're landlords. So another cool thing that you can do with once you have a bunch of notes is this model creates a lot of equity and cash flow, but it doesn't always create cash now. It's important to have an active income strategy as well to like start you doing more wraps. But there are ways to leverage your notes. You can hypothecate the notes. We call them cash streams. We can bring an investor on to one of our notes. and they will give us money now to tap into the equity, and we pay them the cash flow from that note. So for example, say that we have a house, we have for $100,000 financing in place. We have $50,000 of equity in the house after we sell or finance the family. We now have that $50,000 of equity sitting in that note, but that's being realized over time, right? If we need to tap into that, we can sell off that cash flow to bring in an investor who'll give us capital now, and then they receive the cash flow with an interest rate. So that's a way to tap. That's more advanced strategies, but it's ways to tap into the liquidity or to tap into some of the equity that you have in your deals. Cool. So
So
a recap.
you are getting a loan against the equity. Is that what you said?
You can. So when you have, yes, you can use the note as collateral and borrow against it. And people do this with banks. Like a lot of people who are doing the same model as us in land, they do a lot of hypothecations with local banks where they're basically
Yes.
buying large amounts of land.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a more advanced strategy to tap into equity. It's just interesting things to be aware of over time. Cool. So I'll do a quick recap, and then we can open up for some Q&As and answer any questions. So once again, why we love the model: growing market, your 10 houses to tier 1 financial freedom, like gets your like first amount in there to cover ideally most of your living expenses. You're doing good while doing well, like it's having a positive impact. You're creating more homeowners, and then you're changing generations and also achieving the American dream. It's pretty cool. So we have a free school community. That's like underwriting tools. We have like a bunch of stuff like in regards to this model. If it's an area that you want to go deeper into, like come in, hang out with us. We have underwriting tools. We have a bunch of people doing this model all across the country. We're very focused in on this strategy. We have the contracts. We have a community of people doing wraps all over the country, weekly calls, like all the things, speakers as well. This is Dan. Dan had a few bad flips in Alabama. He was kind of underwater on these flips. He did the bro model or the jacket model where he refinanced and found families. This is the family that he seller financed. Jacob Trogan, he's an equity millionaire at 25. He used to work for us, and he started doing one per month over the past year and a half, sometimes 2 per month. He now has 20 plus of these, and he's an equity millionaire at 25, and he has enough passive residual income to cover his living expenses. Kyle Tresky started from zero.
I love your terminologies: equity millionaire, the tier 1 financial freedom. Are those common, or you came up with it?
I think I came up with it. I'm not sure.
That is so cool. And it just hits the spot. Like, amazing way to explain it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. So
I just
Jacob,
wanted to say that. Go ahead.
equity millionaire, meaning like in his notes, he has $1 million worth of note. We call it note equity.
Awesome.
Between like what we owe the banks and what the families owe us. So Kyle Trepsky started from zero. He is a full-time traveling nurse, and he's now on his 3rd wrap in Texas. So he did this while working full-time. This is Dan. He had 3 bad flips in Alabama. He salvaged them, sold them on seller financing, and now he has cash flowing assets where he was going to come like $100K out of pocket. Corey Morrison, another full-time guy. He's doing his first ever wrap in Kansas City, just acquired the property. Sam Mayberger worked for us and now has done 3 to 4 wraps and lease options around Kansas City. So it works. I'm happy to hop on calls with people and also happy to answer any Q&As that people have. I can send, I have a link for a call if anyone wants to hop on a call, but now we can do some Q&A, and yeah, I talked a lot there.
No, this is awesome. I think this is one of the strategies in today's market that is definitely working. I don't say that about any strategy today, including Burr. Even though I love Burr, and I've created my entire wealth off of Burr. In today's market with the interest rates we have, it just, especially in my market, that's why I'm here in Midwest, obviously. But in Texas markets, it's pulling teeth to find the property that actually cash flows. Forget about cash flow, even breaks even. So this model is so like powerful, and this is going to keep working for years. I have seen so many, including one of my business partners based out of a leading lawyer out of Dallas, Scott Horn, who is, I mean, has been the go-to guy for most influential people that I know, including Pace Morby, who owns over 1,000 wraps in his portfolio, has, I mean, he swears by wraps. I mean, he has gone through everything, lost a lot of money during 2008, pulled out of all his burr, and owner financed each and every one of them, owns over 1,000 wraps now and just living the dream. So, few questions from me before we can take other questions. What is the average value of your wrap in Kansas City market?
When you say value, do you mean
Just to
sales price?
understand, like how much, like the selling price to the buyer.
Usually around, say on average, like 250.
Oh, still 250. Okay, that's very
Yeah.
good. Okay,
In that 250 to 270 range.
okay, and those obviously fit under 2,500 in
Yep.
payment. So, are you in 2025? Have you seen? I mean, have you noticed any change in terms of buyers' behavior? I mean, have you seen less buyers interested in properties? I mean, is it becoming more of a buyer's market from the perspective of a realtor? I'm only talking about owner finance world, obviously, but when you talk to realtors, they understand this terminology like seller's market versus buyer's market. When we sold wraps, or rather, we bought probably the most amount of wraps in 2022 and 2023, and everything sold super fast. But in this year, we are not selling as many wraps, and we are having hard time like finding those buyers. Are you experiencing this? Obviously, our overall like affordability zone is on the higher side slightly, but are you experiencing the same thing in Kansas City?
It's all supply and demand, right? So we taught a bunch of our friends how to do this model in Kansas City, and there's like a bunch of guys selling it for $6,000 down. You know, one of my friends is literally he's literally changing neighborhoods in Kansas City in the inner city and turning them more into like Latino areas because of the number of properties that he
Wow.
sold in this model. So you can literally, and I have another mentor who's in Arkansas, has also changed areas of the city like through doing a lot of properties in this manner. So it's all
God.
supply and demand. Like when we first started, we were getting down payments of $30,000 to $60,000 pretty regularly. But we were actually making money on these deals. We were buying sub two with low
Yeah.
down, and then we were getting enough down payment that we were like we were making good margins on the actual sale. Now we sell them more for anywhere from 10,000 down to 30,000 down. I would say most of ours are right around 20,000 down now, 15 to 20. So we have the down payments are lower. And that's why I say like the down payment's your lever, you know, and this is why you need to know your market and also know like, you know, for us, we do lease options, right? So if we get 10,000 down and we have to do an eviction, you know, their 10,000 is going to cover like the eviction process. So it's
And
the
your
down
lease
payments.
option, your lease option makes them pay for utilities, taxes, everything?
Yes.
Okay. So lease option is standard where they pay taxes, they pay insurance, and they
Yep.
pay maintenance, anything. Okay.
We bake it all
And
in.
you're
Yeah.
talking about 10,000 down payment for a $250,000 property?
It depends. If it's 250, it's going to be a little bit higher. So 10,000 is like as low
Okay.
as we will go, right? So like
Okay.
most of our properties we're marketing right now are right around 20,000.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but I
we
mean,
look at it more from the percentage standpoint. We do more like we do 10% across the board for the most part. Once in a while, we'll go below that, but we try to stay above 10%. That's our goal. And again, we can't do lease options here. That's one of the
yeah,
reasons why. But yeah, I love that part.
the lease options give us a bit more flexibility because at the end of the day, it is supply and demand. And like
Yes.
with everything going on, the administration change, just like the families who have 50,000 down, you know, they're being a little bit more careful right now just because of all the changes
Oh
that are
yeah,
going on with immigration and so on.
100%. I'm one of the ones affected by that. Just so,
Mhm.
uh, so Yeah, so the average price, okay, I did not expect that. So where me and my partners are doing here in Ohio, our average is a lot lower than that. So I'm kind of hopeful that we will not have a shortage of buyers. It should be pretty easy to sell. So some people, like I have one of our borrowers, so Jada and I, you probably already know that Jada and I own a DSCR brokerage company. So one of our borrowers is from Memphis area. So she's actually from uh, Mississippi, but I mean, I think Memphis is on the border. So she's in general Memphis area. And she was telling me that she has I mean, queue, or rather, she has a waiting list of lease option buyers. And I mean, Eric tells me the same thing every time we talk about these things. So, is it that much demand if the average price is lower, closer to like 150 on an average?
Yeah, it depends on the market, but I mean, whenever it's affordable, there's higher demand. Like the more affordable
Okay.
houses, lower monthly payments sell a lot quicker.
Right, right. Because the first 3 or 4 houses we have picked in our market here in Ohio, their payment's going to come out to be more closer to like 1,100-1,200 bucks instead of 2,500 all in. I'm talking about. So I think it's going to be pretty lucrative for
W-
uh
what do you cash flow on those?
these buyers. I mean, cash flow is little, obviously, but we are experimenting. So we picked our first properties to be, more affordable. So cash flow will be like 400-500 bucks
Yeah,
per
great. And
property.
you're
Yeah.
doing like a burr, you're doing the bro by
Yes.
rent. Okay. I mean,
Bro,
if you had prop,
I'm loving it
yeah,
that it's catching on. Thank you for that.
yeah, for sure. If you're if you're doing that and you're seller financing it at $1,200, like those are gonna sell super quick.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's very nice to know. I'm actually headed there. I will reach our first property in an hour or so. So I'm super excited that this is happening at the right time. So
Ooh,
again, I have experience in Texas, but things are completely different in the Midwest market. So for those who are listening, it's so important to know both perspectives because some states do not allow you to do the lease options. So you're going to have to rely on what we did in Texas. And we are happy to break it down. I'm happy to bring my partner on and we can chat about the other perspective. So Phil is talking about Midwest and the characteristics of their market, and we can do the same for our market. But yeah, any other questions, Jada, do you see in the chat or anybody else who wants to unmute and ask? Happy to.
Oh yeah, we have a couple questions here. So one of them was asking if you can do this with commercial properties or like self-storage.
I personally have less experience in self-storage, but this exit strategy like works in basically every asset class.
So
Chai mentioned that
it
he's
does
doing it.
work in, yeah, every asset class. However, one thing about self-storage. Now, I mean, this is a very out of the box question and thinking. So thank you for whoever asked. But here is the answer that most self-storage or apartment complexes or any other asset classes that are bigger are purchased by investors. So even if you were to seller finance at a higher interest rate than what you have, you are going to be selling it to an investor. You are When you deal with a wraparound mortgages or these options, you are dealing with, I mean, 80 to 85% of the times you're dealing with a Latino community. So it's a very community specific requirement, at least in Texas. Is that the same do you see about the same percentage
Yeah.
in your demographic of buyers?
Yep.
In our case, we see 90+%, but when I talk to anybody outside Texas, they say, yeah, there is, more than Latino. Other communities are also catching on and doing the same thing. So it's a very specific thing. So unless you're selling your entire self-storage to a buyer in the Latino community who understands this, so one, there is a requirement in the Latino community for this type of product. And second is because their generations have been doing it, they understand it. They know. And most other people, like if you try to sell a wraparound mortgage to Indians, they would think it's a scam. They will not understand what's going on because it's not common, because most of the community has W-2s. They've never been in a situation that Latino community has been in, and they just won't understand it. So for that reason, I think other asset classes will not be as successful as a single family asset class would, because you're basically selling someone a home. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Nice.
What's
Yes,
the
great
next one,
info.
Jada? Yeah.
Yeah. So another one that we had was, which servicing company do you use, and how do you find which servicing companies to use?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so we use a servicing company called Madison Management. And so Madison Management is the one that we chose of all the ones that we checked out. So there's pros and cons of each servicing company. Like one of ours, like Madison requires for our buyers to have an ITIN or an SSN. So like the buyers must have a social security number or an ITIN. Whereas like
Wow.
if you're self-servicing or using other servicing companies, they might not require that. Which means you might have more like people that aren't registered. But yeah, Madison, they charge $30 a month. And they've done a good job for us. And mostly servicing companies use the same software, but it's pretty easy just to go in there and check up. And yeah, once you have a portfolio of these, like most of what you do to manage it is just like you're just counting money. You're just like, okay, is money coming? It's fun to count money. It's a good hobby. So like your mostly going in there and like checking out, like, is the capital coming in? And if it's late, you figure it out.
Nice. Another question that we had was, are you using DSCR loans, or are you also using like conventional loans, like long-term from the bank and stuff?
We just use DSCR loans. So when we're doing the jacket or bro, I don't know if maybe I have to switch it up to the bro. My friend coined it the jacket strategy, and he really was happy when that started taking off a little bit. But we'll see. There's
Nice.
competing terms now. When we do that, we're using DSCR loans. So it's all DSCR. When it's subject to is then conventional, right? You're taking over conventional loan.
So
No.
I just want to elaborate on what we are talking about here, because initially Phil spoke about it briefly, and a lot of people may not know what creative is and what bro or jacket model is. So when you do, so I like to talk about Burr model first, because that's where I started, and that's probably the most basic model in the nutshell. So Burr, and again, to give you a little bit more background, when I first started in real estate, I thought the way to buy a piece of property is by hiring a realtor and going on a marketplace, which is MLS. And that's what I thought. And I was super excited about negative $50 cash flow. I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. 30 years later, this property is going to be mine, free and clear. I just have to pay $50 out of pocket every month. But until someone slapped my hands and told me to go attend a seminar where I learned what wholesaling is and how I buy discounted properties. That's where I was introduced to a Burr model. And that is probably the number one model that most investors use nationwide. Okay. Burr model is when you buy a piece of property from a wholesaler or from a seller who is distressed, or the property is in some sort of distress that seller is not willing to fix, and you are getting a discount in return. Okay, so when you buy this type of property, obviously you have to go in there and remodel it. In order to remodel the property, you need to use your own cash, which majority of the people have it handy because they have it invested somewhere else. So they end up choosing to work with a local hard money lender, which is, so I'm a hard money lender, someone like me who has a business of lending money is two things. One is you can not get bank financing on properties that need work. And also the people that you're buying from, the seller is in distress, and that seller is not going to wait for your loan to clear. So you need to use a quick financing, and that's where hard money lenders exist. That's why hard money lenders exist. So you are going to get a hard money loan to fix the property. Once it's at par with the market standards, you're going to go to JADA, who does long-term DSCR loans, which basically gives you a lower interest rate and a long-term financing compared to the hard money lender. And it's more of a fixed interest for 30-year type of loan. When you go into that loan, now you can go ahead and rent the property and repeat the process. That's what BRRRR stands for. The only thing we are going to do differently, and again, what Phil started out, I mean, I started with BRRRR, my career. Phil started out by using creative purchases, which is what Pace Morby teaches. And I mean, it has existed for years, but Pace Morby made it popular. So what that means is he is buying properties using, I mean, or rather, he's buying those properties on a marketplace while taking over the loans that are existing on the property that seller has, probably at a lower interest rate. He's taking those loans over subject to. So all he's doing is the seller still stays on the loan. He takes over the property. He gets the deed to the property, and he's going to start making payments to the seller's mortgage. That is the easiest way to get low interest mortgages in today's marketplace. For you to buy a discounted property and then go to JADA, you're going to get 7 to 7.5% interest rate, because that's the market interest rate. But if you used creative way to purchase, you can get interest rates as low as 2-3%. Okay, that is just, I mean, that is equivalent to getting a discount on the property. Okay, but what's good about the BRRRR method is you are in charge of those loans, and oftentimes people that are selling or willing to sell their properties creatively are selling those because those properties are not selling easily elsewhere. So there is hardly ever there is equity available in the property. So you're buying this property more because of the interest rate. In case of BRRRR model, you're buying a property with a discount. So that means you are walking into an equity situation and you're capturing equity. You're becoming, I mean, you're working your way towards that equity millionaire situation, which is very important. In my opinion, BRRRR is better than creative because I'm building wealth, even if it's in the equity form. Because sooner or later, interest rates will go down, maybe not as low as 3%, and I can refinance it. But and at that point, BRRRR strategy will look better than creative. But again, there is no right or wrong answer here. This is just my personal perspective. And then, like, when you compare the two ways to acquire properties, now what you do with those properties is what Phil is talking about. And Phil is hitting it out of the park with his strategy of owner financing those properties. So he does not have to take a single phone call about tenants, trash, and toilets. That's what we call 3 T's in the real estate world. So that's why the bro or the jacket model dominates. Again, there are pros and cons, and some will argue that over the years, the properties will appreciate in value and you will not be there to take advantage of that appreciation. But because your time is freeing up and you don't have to pay for maintenance and other things of the property, you are able to do twice, if not 10x the volume as compared to BRRRR model. So that's where your wealth is coming from, not from the equity in the property. There
And we
is
have
no
another question.
business in real estate, that is ever passive. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and another question that Shaswat had was, how high of an interest rate can you go?
So you'd want to
Yeah,
consult
you
like
can take that, Phil.
Yeah, you want to consult like usury laws in your area. But like for us, we usually prioritize creating more equity than higher interest rates because it's all an equation. So if you raise the sales price, you can lower the interest rate a little bit, and now you have more equity in the deal than you do like the interest rate arbitrage. But usually we're selling for between 8 and 10% interest. Consult usury laws in your area, like you can't sell it for like 20% interest. But yeah, but usually it'll work out for us in our market about 8 to 10%.
Wait, so Kansas City is the usury law, the limit is at 10%?
Uh, I'm not sure what it's above
So
10%.
can I answer that question real quick?
Yeah.
So usury law is for lenders typically. In this case, you are a lender. However, you're selling these properties, especially the way we sell it in Texas. When we are actually selling the property and creating a mortgage by signing over the deed of the property to an end buyer. That's what I mean by creating a mortgage. When I do that, different laws apply other than usury, because I am selling a piece of property to an end buyer who is going to live in the property, or also called as homestead buyer. In case of Phil, uh, usury laws, and again, I don't want to speak for him, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in your case, since it's a lease option, there may be, I mean, I don't know, the lines are kind of blurry between the usury versus the homestead buyer limitations. So I just wanted to clarify the two situations that we face here. What do
Yeah.
you
So
what do you think about that?
with the lease options, like the lines are pretty blurry because we're not even technically charging them an interest rate. It's there's a rent credit table, but it's not explicitly stated in the lease or the option that there's an interest rate. It is a lease, and then they have an option to buy at a certain price, and then we have a rent credit table. So every single month that they pay, a little bit's applied to that principal, right? So there's
Mm.
no interest rate explicitly stated in our agreements.
So is there no mortgage in place whatsoever?
No.
Okay, so everything they're paying is rent, and then some portion of the rent will be applied towards their purchase, and there
Yep.
is an agreement, side agreement, but underlying the main agreement, there is a calculation that goes more like a mortgage.
And what we've done is we've set everything up with our CPA, our attorney, Madison Management, our servicing company. So Madison Management will still service it, even though it's a lease option, and they just apply that rent credit every single month for us. So we're not doing that manually.
Man, that is super, super creative. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And
So I
going
wish
wait,
this was possible
another
in
question that
Texas.
kind of goes into this. Yeah, exactly. Texas rip for lease options. Kind of going more into like the tax side. Melissa had a perfect question, which was, what about the depreciation? Do you get depreciation with the lease options and wraps?
So with wraps, no. I'm curious. So this is contested, but like it's not, in my opinion, it's not really. I'm curious Chai's opinion.
No, we
But
can't get it.
for contract for deeds and true wraps, you cannot write off depreciation. For the 30-year lease option, we thought you could, but my CPA, who used to work for the IRS for 8 years, is saying that in the case of an audit, the IRS could call it a masked sale. And so you would then, so you can't, and this is different CPAs would say different things. General lease options, the 3-year lease option, yes, you can write off depreciation. On our 30-year lease options, my CPA is saying no. Because if in case of an audit, the IRS could say it's a masked sale. And then I'm actually bringing my CPA out for our community in like 10 days. And we're going to ask him all these questions. Yeah,
Nice.
I would like to, but like my CPA says no for the 30-year lease option. And so I'll probably even structure a 10 to 15-year lease option as well. So I can do a few of those because it's really nice to have that depreciation.
So the way people do this, again, this is not an advice. I mean, even if I was a professional, I wouldn't be giving this advice. I'm just telling you what type of stuff people are doing in the marketplace, and I don't support it. However, there are people who are selling these properties to unsophisticated buyers, and a lot of our buyers in the wraparound world are unsophisticated, and they're not even giving them the lease option paperwork at closing or whatever they do. And all buyer has is a lease in their hands and a shake hand agreement to purchase the property, even if they sign the papers. And that's how they are able to get depreciation and deny that that document ever existed on paper. So, but again, very shitty way to do it. Just follow what Phil said and use your CPA for guidance. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've thoughts on this also because there's a lot of people in the lease option world who are doing very predatory lease options. Like they're doing a 5-year lease option, 3-year lease option, 2 years, getting the properties back, recycling over and over again, and just selling people the dream of home ownership. And like for us, like that's not like my paradigm of how I desire to structure my business or my life or like my impact in the world. So there's a lot of space for like being a good human being when you're doing these types of deals because like in any form of real estate, especially when you're working with first generation Americans, like, we don't want to take advantage of people either. We want to structure in a way that like we can sleep at night and we feel like good about what we're creating in the world.
Yes. I mean, love that. What else, Cheda?
Cool. Armando?
Hey, what's up? How's it going, Phil?
What's up,
What's
Armando?
up, everybody else? Whoever's listening, what's up? Yeah, my question is, along those lines of it being predatory or not, and trying to think like, so what items do we need to meet, right? So we don't fall in that category of being predatory. So my main question on that is, are we having to show them something similar to an amortization schedule that shows what amount is going towards the principal for us to, be in compliance if there's any type of compliance for the lease option?
I mean, in Texas, lease options are illegal, right? I think you do like a 6
Yeah.
I don't know.
lease
I'm barely learning.
No, they
I
are.
thought I heard Chai say that. I'm like, wait, oh, okay.
So Texas,
Make sure.
Texas isn't allowed. And like the reason is people took, I actually don't know the history. My guess is that the reason is because people took advantage of people on lease options. But you can do like predatory lease options, like aren't illegal. Like people do it all the time in a legal way. It's just like people come in and you increase the sales price every single year, like the strike price is called, like the price they have the option to buy the property at each year. And then they just know that people are going to succeed or fail 90% of the time. We're how we structure our stuff, we have a 90% success rate. Most of our families are going to end up buying the properties. So like legally, I mean, you can structure lease options in different ways. How we structure it is we do a rent credit table inside of the option agreement that they can see, and they know every month they pay, this is what the principal is going to be remaining after each month.
Oh, nice. I like that. That's exactly what I want to do, even if it's not a requirement by whoever's regulating. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So in Texas, we have too many requirements because there is no lease option and we have to complete the sale. We have to abide by the Dodd-Frank Act. And so we have that. What that means is after 9/11, the Dodd-Frank Act came into place and so many things changed. And I'm sorry, after 2008, not 9/11. So a lot of things changed, and there are certain things you have to go and do as part of the mortgage origination for homestead buyers. One of them is called RMLO. So registered mortgage loan origination. So RMLO is a license and has licenses with certain companies. And of those certain companies, a very few actually focus on owner financing, because when they look at owner financing, some of the laws have to be interpreted in a different way, such as when a buyer is claiming that they make $10,000 but do not have a proof to show you how and what documents to use in order to qualify these borrowers and use that 10,000 that they are claiming they make, even if they are making it in cash. First, one, like how to verify that, and second, how to use that data. to qualify the buyer. So those things are a workaround, or rather have to be done in a way where the laws are interpreted differently. So very few companies are actually able to do that. So knowing those companies is important. And after that, staying on top of all these requirements. So the servicing companies that can handle that is another layer of complexity that is added in this whole thing. If you are in Texas, I just want to warn everybody here, do not use a company called August REI. That company has been around for years, and the owner is pretty out and are going through a crazy like experience with these people. So please, if you ever hear their name and spread this word, tell everybody. I mean, I'm not trying to talk bad about someone's business, but this is really hurting, and they are a predatory servicing company almost at this point, because they are completely neglected. The operations are neglected. Anyways, that's how complex the Texas process is. Go ahead, Jade.
What was the name one more time?
August REI.
August REI. All right. Any other questions, everyone? Those were the ones that I got.
I mean,
Nice.
I'm definitely reaching out to Phil after this for a lot of new things that are going to pop up in our new operation here. I hope you guys do. And how can people get a hold of your community, Phil?
Yeah, so Jada just posted it there. We have a free school
Oh,
community.
fantastic.
And if you get nothing else out, there's also like even beyond like, I mean, this exit strategy is amazing. Like we love it. Chai loves it. It's a really great exit strategy. Go to just like the classroom and the foundations module there. It's not necessarily like this model related, but like just get started there and just like really just when you get into investing, or even if you're a very mature investor, just like crafting out like your dream life structure is so important. And like ChatGPT is pretty incredible. And like the prompts that we have in there to like build that out, like not just, you know, the vision, but also like the financial breakdown of like based off of what my dream life looks like, how much do I actually need to be making each month. It's really cool. So hop in there.
No,
I
okay.
put my yeah.
Can I ask you about the ChatGPT prompts part you said? You're
Yeah.
dropping these like big gems in a casual way, just in the middle of conversation. I was like, wait. What is that you just said? Okay, what do you do with ChatGPT prompts again?
Yeah, so we have like a worksheet in our school community that's called the foundation section, and it is
Okay.
going to ask you questions. Now we fill out these questions, and then it's going to have you copy and paste like a very well thought out ChatGPT prompt based off of what ChatGPT already knows about you and about how you
Mm.
answered all these questions. And from that, it's going to craft you your dream life in like several paragraphs. And so it's
Oh
kind
my
of like
God.
affirmational, like this. Yeah, it made me emotional when I did it. And like my wife also has done it as well. We like we read that vision, we come back to it over and over again. This goes back to all the greats, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, like what all these Brian Tracy, what all these people
Crazy.
talked about, like envisioning your dream life. Like ChatGPT can really help us do that. And that's document one.
That is
This
so cool, man.
this the
That's
second
amazing.
document, the second document is a breakdown financially based off of where you want to live, what kind of house you want to have. Do you want to have someone like a cleaner, like where your kids, how many kids, what schools they go to, you know, break down how much you actually need to be earning. Like how, yeah, it's really cool. It's really awesome. It's a really
That's
good,
crazy.
it's amazing.
I love how like holistic
Guys,
you are as well. Like it's not just about build your portfolio with reps. It's okay, what do you want? What do you need in life? And then how can you help, other people do that? You're not just building your portfolio, you're building your portfolio by offering home ownership to people. So it's like all around just good energy. I love that, Phil.
so one
Uh,
of the biggest things that we preach in our community is like, I mean, again, we are talking about underwriting here in this community, and we want people to know different strategies and how to underwrite for those strategies. But guess what? Underwriting strategies, I mean, no matter what you're trying to achieve, if you don't know yourself, if you have not experimented with your own uh, like desires and see if that you're made for this or not, and what that dream life will look like, knowing who you are, is so important. And that's what we preach. And that's why what you just said is it is probably the most important thing to me. It is closest to my heart. My entire life is revolving around trying to find myself more and more every day. And I literally find myself every day. I mean, I was joking, but this is true. On our last call, literally last week, for the first time in my life, I learned to breathe while doing freestyle swimming. And I've been wanting to do that forever. Again, it hasn't been the highest priority like investing or business. So I never hired a coach or did anything about it. But I always tried to do that, ask people questions, and it just suddenly clicked. So it is so much more fulfilling when you actually find yourself, and then everything you're doing, no matter whether it's investing or working, wherever you are, it's all fun at that point, because you think you're getting that's what gives you fulfillment in life. So amazing, amazing. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, I'm a very philosophical entrepreneur. So like, I've
Yes.
seen, I've seen a lot of people who have like more money than they can ever possibly spend. I've seen them like constantly thriving for like more in like toxic ways. So it's like, all right,
Oh
we're
yeah.
constantly like we're programmed to desire more, and that can be aligned in like a way where we're desiring more like to grow to better human beings and to create more impact in the world, rather than just like get more houses that I feel fulfilled. Breaking out that fulfillment cycle and just like living the dream like right now. And
Oh yeah.
that's how you win. When you stack how you make money and the impact you're having, you just love all of it, and now you're winning at life.
That is so
This
cool.
this is already so motivating for me. I didn't realize where I was when we first started the call, but I am riding high right now. I don't know if anybody is feeling the same way right now, please put a 1 in the chat, because I want to make sure it's not just me that's like super, I don't know, I just feel so light now. I feel good. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, man. This is awesome.
Well, yeah, thank you guys for having me on and for hosting, and for everyone for coming and hanging out and listening. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the school. And yeah, reach out to me on Facebook. It's Philip Louden, Facebook, Instagram, all the things.
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome.
And if you guys follow me on
And
Instagram, I was posting him like throughout everything. So you can also find him there. But cool. Well, I
all
won't take
right.
up too much of your time, Phil. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody. I don't think I didn't receive any kind of deals that we need to underwrite, so we'll leave it at that for today.
So I do have Melissa Freeman in the call, and Phil, feel free to stay back if you want to look at how and what we do here. So this is a free underwriting resource, no strings attached whatsoever. The reason we started this community is because of the business we are in, and we want our borrowers to come here and learn how they can grow their businesses. And in turn, we get more loans, we get more business, we get more opportunities, and connect with more people. So that's what we do here. One of our borrowers, Melissa Freeman, is in the call today, and I have promised her that I'm going to look at the photos of her property and give her some suggestions on the rehab, what she should do in order to get to where she needs to go, which is the valuation of the property. The property she has is a family owned house for generations, and she is teaching her son to be that's his first property on his journey to be a real estate investor. So we are going to look at that. Melissa, are you ready with the photos, or do you want to schedule another time? I'm sorry, I should have asked that first, I guess. Or did we conclude it? No.
No, she's here. I just don't think she can.
I don't know. Maybe she didn't find the unmute button.
Okay.
There she is.
Oh, there you are.
It said the host would not allow me to unmute, but now
Oh, sorry. Okay. We didn't realize.
I didn't upload the pictures on my computer, and I don't know how to share them.
Oh, I have the Google Drive. We can pull it up here.
Okay.
So we'll just do a quick, maybe 15-minute exercise and underwrite that deal and then call it a day. Since Phil has us all charged up, let's ride that wave and look at a property. So, okay. Do you have that link, Jada, by any chance? Or I can text
No.
it to you. I'm going to stop here in 1 second. Let me text it to you. Hold on.
I also have Keegan here with me, my son.
Oh, fantastic.
Heyo.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, I'm just gonna share it in the chat so everybody can see it, because this property is already owned in your family, so nobody can take that away from you, even if they see the address or anything else. There you go. Do you get it? Did you get it, Jada?
I see it in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. If you don't mind, Jada, please share your screen and we can go through it quickly.
You don't have to click on it.
Everyone see it?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so if you don't mind, please plug it in on, I mean, put that address on Google Maps and just zoom out to show the Memphis area so we can see where the property is at.
Keep going. I don't know how much you want me to zoom out.
Yeah, just zoom out to see Memphis. So I just want to, so because even if it shows Mississippi and the reason I'll mention why we are going to look at this map in just a second here. Okay. You guys see the border of Tennessee and Mississippi? So little background story about this property is, so our other partner, Ingrid, she's actually, I'm right outside her house right now. I mean, Eric's house where she's staying at. She is helping us raise money for multiple projects. And if you don't know Ingrid, go and follow her. I think 90% of you already know her. She's out there always helping with a lot of sub-to community activities, very close to pace, very popular personality. So she reached out to a bunch of investors for Melissa to raise money for this property. Okay. And some of the investors replied by saying, oh, it's too rural for me. So it is probably the most basic requirement to look up the property on the map. If you're underwriting a deal, looking at where that property is instead of trying to use your tribal knowledge to decide. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry.
Looking at the property is good. That is one thing I will reiterate from what I said.
So
You there, Trey?
sorry, 1 sec. I'm trying to fix my okay, sorry about that. Okay, I'm good. So this property, when I didn't look at the map to tell Ingrid that, oh, what are they talking about? It's in the Memphis area. So when I spoke with Melissa, and then when we looked it up, and then she gave me the background, this property turns out to be one of the best properties, not only in Memphis area. This property sits on 1 acre lot. It's like surrounded by several big subdivisions. It's more like I don't know, I mean, if you guys are aware of this terminology, but we call this type of properties country in the city type of properties. So if you go around this property, if you zoom in, Jada, and just change it to satellite view, you can see there is bunch of little communities with small lots around this property, and this is the only community with like acreage lots. So this property is actually one of the most desired properties in the area. And again, I'm not just saying that. When I spoke with Melissa and asked her, she told me I have a waiting list of people trying to move into this property. She has pre-leased the property before even before buying the property. Again, it's a family home, but she is trying to buy from the family member. So she hasn't even completed the sale, and she has already signed the lease starting September 1st. And the tenant has told her, oh, even if it's not fixed up, I'm moving in. I will fix it up. So that's how desirable this neighborhood is. So that's how safe this investment is from the lender's perspective. But the lenders completely missed it. Okay. That's again, the lender who ended up lending on this property saw what other people didn't. And that's why underwriting is so important. Okay. And this is probably the most crucial step in underwriting, looking at Google Maps, changing the street view to satellite view, and checking the characteristics of those neighborhoods. Okay. So now, long story short, she's getting a great deal because it's a family member. Property does need some work. We were trying to get her a hard money loan from a big box lender, but again, because of the red tape that is involved, it just made sense to work with a PML. So since it's their first time, they are trying, I'm helping them out with a process. So I told them to take pictures from all sides, and pictures are more important than a video from a lender's perspective or buyer's perspective, because it gives you an idea of the property in one, like you keep scrolling and you see everything about the property. Whereas in a video, you have to watch the entire video to find what you want. So always, if you're selling the property or if you're requesting the photos or videos, photos first, videos second. This is my style. But look at this property. It doesn't look like it's in a bad shape compared to, thousands of properties I've seen. Okay. So all this property really needs is a facelift. Okay. So Melissa was under the impression that it's going to cost her about $45,000 to fix this property, which if I am the contractor, I can make several arguments that why 45,000 makes sense. But if I'm an investor, and especially someone who can help a fellow investor, I will tell Melissa to literally just do paint and carpet in this property, especially because one, it sits on an acre. And second, the tenant themselves have told her not to overdo anything. Okay. So we literally, I have already gone through this, but Jada, can you pull up the first picture and then just let's keep going one by one. Okay. So then we can talk about things. So one of the biggest things about this property that needs to be done right away in order to get financing on it is, one, it has all so at some point, okay, keep going. I'll tell you when to stop. Go next. Next. So this property at some point lost the air conditioner, and the family member probably didn't have money to fix it or didn't think it was needed. So they ended up putting window units in all rooms. And that is the biggest expense besides paint and carpet that needs to be addressed. The floor, you can tell that it's a pretty typical rental property situation. Cabinets are intact. Okay, go to the photo where it shows kitchen. Okay, right there. No, the one next to it. One where shows cabinets, all of them. Yeah, that's it. So besides the paint, carpet, and air conditioner, I saw this photo and it shows me that it has all the cabinets are older. Okay. So whenever we are, but appliances are stainless steel, There is some backsplash on the left side. There is no backsplash on the right side. So for this property to appraise at the top of the market, which is around 220 in that area, which is still in the affordability zone based on the terminology we heard earlier. So if you want this property to, like, because the appraisers in that, like, property appraisers that are appraising properties in that price point, they are not really looking for everything at the, I mean, in its best condition. Okay, so this property needs to look, one, livable, two, clean, and three, updated. When I say updated, it doesn't have to be a designer grade updated when you're dealing with a $220,000 rental property. Okay, so I as a contractor will always justify that why this kitchen needs brand new cabinets. But now as a mentor or a fellow investor, someone helping a fellow investor, I will never change these cabinets. One simplest thing to do is just paint. Paint a neutral color, either white or any other neutral color you like, and be done with it. Just, there is one couple drawers I can see that are broken. Those need to be fixed for sure. But one of the coolest hacks that I like to do is I hire a local carpenter that is affordable, okay, and then change all the faces of the cabinets. Because oftentimes the cabinet boxes don't get any damage. Most of the damage is on the faces. And most of the times, I mean, it's literally a facelift, okay? And today, I mean, back then when the property was built, these flat doors were probably in style, but today it's shaker style doors are in style. Okay, so changing these doors or faces out is not going to cost more than $1,500 in, at least in my area, when I use a cost-effective carpenter. And I'm not looking for the highest grade carpenter to do this job, because guess what? This is a rental property. Small, like, minor imperfections are fine. Okay, so you have to look at things really from the perspective of an investor, especially when you are someone who is doing high-end things like $1 million flips, and suddenly change your strategy to buy rentals and do something else. Or you're not an investor, but you have designed your own house where you live and you have that perspective built, and now you have to switch gears to change your thought process. So from that perspective, changing these faces literally makes it look like it's brand new cabinets, and it has worked every time I've done this. So her rehab can potentially come from 45,000 closer to 25 to 30,000. It's possible. Again, she's not using the subcontractors like I do. So because it's a GC cost, it might go higher than what I'm thinking. But this property doesn't need a lot. After looking at these pictures, I'm pleasantly surprised. So the way the properties are built in the Mississippi or general Memphis area, this is on a pier and beam. Am I right, Melissa? Or this is like a block and beam?
1 second. I think we have to ask her to unmute. Okay.
Sorry, I should have just left it unmuted. I forgot what the question.
No, you're fine. No, so is it on a pier and beam foundation or block and beam? What type of foundation is
Yes,
it? Do you know?
we call it conventional. It's up in the air.
Like a pony wall type foundation, I think.
You mean like
But either way, I think it has a crawl space under the foundation.
Yes.
And because of that, the floors are boards and not the concrete. So in some areas, the floorboards need to be changed, which is a minor easy fix. I just did that on a couple of properties. I mean, it was on a second floor. Texas, we are on a slab foundation. So in some areas, floorboards need to be changed. But after looking at these pictures, I do not see $45,000 rehab. Again, based on what she's trying to achieve. If she told me she wants to flip this property, then I would tell her to do brand new bathrooms. Okay. But right now it's not needed at all. In fact, it's going to create more problems not only is she going to spend money on new bathrooms, then the tiles are going to break or something else is going to happen. These bathtubs that she has, they are super sturdy, been around for a long time. They can be resurfaced. So there is a lot more advantages of keeping the traditional materials in the place where it's not needed to be. And those are not really, I mean, as long as you make it look clean and take care of those things, appraisers are not going to see it as an outdated thing. They will still consider it upgraded because you resurfaced it or did a facelift to it, gave it a facelift. So I think, Melissa, we can really do this under, 30, 35 grand, in my opinion. So I definitely feel good about saving you that much money there, even though your cost of financing went up since like we had to go from big box to traditional route. I'm sorry, big box to PML route. So with that being said, any other questions about this rehab from you, Melissa, or anybody else here?
No, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah,
We've learned
anytime.
so much through this process.
Yeah, so also Jada just reminded me that there is a tractor shed on the property that she is not giving access to the tenant to. However, since the shed sits on the property, we have to do something about it in order to get the appraisal where we need and make sure it's not in our way of getting financing. So that's one more thing to think about, Melissa, for us. And last but not the least, these are the 3 favorite things that I do in any property that I ever touch. Okay. Number 1 is changing all the fixtures in the property. Okay. That's ceiling fans, lights, faucets, mirrors, vanity lights, doorknobs, cabinet knobs. And you might think that, this is a costly line item, but and this is another hack that you may not have heard before, but a lot of people hire contractors and contractors directly go to Home Depot and just buy whatever is on the shelf. And Home Depot is not the right place to buy designer grade, cheap yet designer grade fixtures. Amazon.com is the best place to buy those. Most of the times when I do all these things or when I change all these fixtures in the house, I end up spending maybe 1,000 to 1,500 on Amazon, depending on depending on how much I spend on these fixtures. Of course, in more higher end houses, I spend on, okay, and there is Ingrid here. So she wanted to show her face. So.
Ingrid.
So we are here trying to start our walkthroughs very soon. So I promised you that I'm going to take care of or look at your property pictures. And I think that's going to help everybody else here. But look at this picture, for example. Okay. Just another reason why you need detailed like pictures. This tile is not just, in a good shape. It's also looking okay. Lot of styles like just recycle in the market, and this style may not look out of style if you just keep it as it is, especially when it's a rental property. So there is no reason to change this style and spend $3 to $3.50 per square foot to put vinyl. Okay, even though it's going to look clean. Now tiles are back in style. Everybody's using different designer tiles, colorful tiles in the kitchen, in the bathrooms. So it's all, it's all back in style. So and like few years ago, I would have told, okay, this style is ugly, just get rid of it. Now, I don't think so, honestly, because things change. So little things like that add so much. And if you stay on top of the market, like sentiment, the market styles, market changes, you will know these things. Okay. And for those reasons, and not, of course, once you learn underwriting, you probably don't have to learn how to run numbers, but you still have to talk about what's changing in the market on a regular basis. That's why the communities like us thrive, is because people always want to come together and talk about something that, I mean, what changed, or what do I need to do differently to win in this market. So that's why we exist, and that's what we are going to keep talking about. I hope this helped. Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Two more things I didn't
Yeah, I was
mention.
just gonna say, I
The
think I missed
fixtures.
two. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, I think I missed two of the things. You said there are 3 items.
Yeah. So the one thing I talked about is fixtures. I'm sorry, Ingrid came with her weird faces and broke my spell. Sorry about that. So I'm just joking. She's a very close friend. So fixtures, number one. Two is even cheaper than fixtures. Okay, fixtures cost maybe 1,500 on the higher end. Okay, and if you do 300,000-400,000 houses, or 500,000 or bigger, then maybe 2,500. Okay, and to install those fixtures, if you give it to a handyman, they can do it for like $500. So overall, it's $2,000 upgrade. Okay. Second, and the most cheapest upgrade is electrical plates. Okay, even though you don't, so houses 300,000-400,000 and above, especially older ones, I do change the switches and plugs also. But if it's just a simple rental property, I don't, and the switches and plugs are working fine, all I change is face plates. Okay, electrical face plates. Oftentimes 50s, 60s houses have yellow face plates. If you change them to white face plates, even if you keep the switches yellow, that white color goes a long way, because right now white is in style. Okay. And the third thing, I'm trying to remember, fixtures that I think I lost my train of thought, but there is another very simple upgrade like fixtures that you should do in the house. Oh my God, I'll remember it. I'm going to post it in the group. But these are the three things, and I'll of course talk to you, Melissa, again. So we'll talk about different things. But those faceplates cost like 35-40 cents, okay, per plate. So all plates together don't cost more than like $100, honestly, installed. So, and that is probably the easiest upgrade you're gonna do. So, people buy what they see. So whenever someone enters the house, it needs to look clean, it needs to feel updated, it needs to smell great. Oh, the last, and probably not my third thing, but another thing is always make sure the smell is taken care of. And one of the easiest ways to take care of the smell when renting or selling the property is take care of your AC filters. Okay. Besides the plates, yes, I remember what the third thing is. The third thing is you need to change all the smoke alarms, all the AC vents. Even if you don't change them, ask your contractor to spray paint them white. Again, very cheap, simple upgrade. Take all the AC vents down, wash them with a pressure washer if you have to, let it dry, and spray paint. Contractors already know these things. I've never done it personally. I've just seen them, or I probably haven't even seen them do it. I've heard them say what they do. So these are the three cheapest upgrades you can do. So all the fixtures, all the electrical plates, and all other things on the ceiling like vents. Sometimes smoke alarms may not be required to change. So, it's your own personal decision if they are fairly newer or they have life left in them. So by the way, smoke alarms have an expiry date, and usually it's 10 years. So remember that. A lot of people don't know that. So all these things don't cost you a lot. Sometimes I have done houses where I haven't even painted them, but I have done these three things, because these three things alone change so much in the house. It just starts to make it look more modern. So paint is gonna be costlier than any of these things. So I hope that helps. And if there is any question, happy to answer it about this particular property. If not, we'll probably call it a day. I know we tracked it quite a bit today.
That is so helpful. Thank you so much, Chad.
You are welcome. Anything else, Jada?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you
thank you,
guys for sticking
everybody.
around.
Yeah. And thank you, Melissa, for coming and allowing us to show your deal. So that's awesome. Remember, guys, to join the Facebook group because it's free and you get these every week. And you can bring deals like a Melissa brought her deal. And we're going to have more and more guest speakers that are fantastic, like Philip. So yeah, join the Facebook community. Share it with people that you like, that you want to see succeed, because that's the point of this group, to underwrite and analyze deals. And also share with people that you don't like, your enemies. I don't care. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thank you, Jada, for moderating it today. And I'll see you guys in the Facebook group. We are going to start sharing more content in the group, just like this. So we'll see you next Saturday.
Thanks, Chai. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Have a
You
good
guys
one.
take care. Bye.
Bye.